Hey guys, it's Danielle, and today I'm going to give you guys 5 tips for starting homeschooling. 5. So I am back with a homeschool video. It has been a long time since I've done a homeschool video. I know it's almost October 1st. So most of you are probably already in your school year, probably getting ready for fall break, and here I am talking about 5 tips to starting homeschooling. But anybody can start homeschooling any time of the year. And if you are right at that time where fall break is nearing and your child is in public school and you're thinking about pulling them out and maybe trying homeschool, then this video will be perfect for you. Or if you are already homeschooling and still feeling lost and confused and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, then hopefully this video will help you as well. So there we go. For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Danielle and I am the non-traditional mommy. I have been homeschooling my kids for my oldest now in school is a junior. So I have been homeschooling for 13 years. Has it been 13 years? Oh my gosh. Yes, 13 years. Very long time it feels like. So there you have it. So I've been homeschooling for 13 years. I have homeschooled all of my children. My oldest son is 24. He was homeschooled for 6th grade and 8th grade. And then my daughter that is a junior has been homeschooled from day one. So she has never been in public school and so forth for the rest of my kids. So that's a little bit about me. As far as my channel, I talk about everything under the sun. This is just an outlet for me, something that I enjoy doing. So go check out some more of my videos, and then hopefully you'll join my little family and hit the subscribe button. For the rest of my non-traditional family, my MVPs, you guys already know that I love you. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. If you have not hit the bell button, you guys hit the bell button, because you know, like right now I just post like whenever I have a chance to post. So please hit the bell button so you will not miss any of my videos. And thank you guys for hanging in there. Seriously, I love you guys. Mwah. So you guys, let's talk about some tips for homeschooling. So let me just put this disclosure out there. These tips are not going to be for everyone. Everybody homeschools differently. Everybody's school at home looks different. It just does. So these are just 5 tips to help that parent that is just starting out and feeling all kinds of nervousness, all kinds of worried, all kinds of anxiety, and everything else that comes along. So this is not the Bible by any means of homeschooling. Not at all. I know that homeschooling is like the scariest thing. We do not make this decision willy-nilly. It is not like you wake up one day and be like, I'm just gonna homeschool my kids and pull them out of school and I don't know, I'm just gonna do it. Well, some of you might do that, but most of us, we take this thing serious. I mean, we think about it, we pray about it, we toss and turn over it, we ask millions of people, we research. It is definitely not something that you just lightheartedly do. And I'm just gonna tell you, you never ever feel like you have it all figured out. You never feel like you're doing the thing right. You always feel like you're lacking or missing something. That just doesn't go away. So take a deep breath there. So my goal here is to give you 5 tips when you're first starting out to homeschool. So tip number 1, and the most important tip, is to relax. Relax, you guys. So just take a deep breath, relax. You don't have to go out and buy the most expensive curriculum. You don't have to go out and buy every single book under the sun. You do not need to create a classroom in your house and you know, have all these fancy calendars and fancy books and fancy desks and fancy pencils and pens, and you don't have to do all of that. Now, it's okay to do that, but it is not a requirement for homeschooling. So just relax, take a deep breath, let yourself know it's gonna be okay. You have it. You are a great mom or great dad. You're great parents, and your goal is to do the best thing for your child and for your family. So just relax. Do it with me. I got this. I got this. So with homeschooling, throughout your homeschooling career, whether it's 1 year or whether it's going to be 12 years, you just simply want to relax. You want to just go with the flow, take it as it comes, take things as they come your way, figure it out as you get there, cross whatever challenges that, you know, come, conquer those challenges as they come. Do not overthink this thing. Just relax. That's my number one tip. Number two, after you relax, is let go of every single thought that you've had about schooling. Now, you guys, this is the hardest one. I myself am still struggling with tip number two. I find that as I go on and on and on, I get better with tip number two. But if I could go back and tell my brand new homeschooling mommy self, the number two tip would be let go of all your thoughts about schooling. And so what that means is homeschooling is not schooling at home. That's not what it is. It is for some people, you guys. And so basically what I mean by that is the goal of homeschooling is not to replicate public school. It is not to do what they do at public school at home. That's not the goal. I think most of the time when a lot of us pull our children out of public school or opt not to send our kids to public school, it's because we want something different. It's because there was something about public school that didn't sit well in our spirit. There was something about it that we did not like. And so to try to replicate what we did not like at home kind of doesn't make any sense. However, I find that first time brand new homeschoolers, in our mind, school looks like this. So this is how we need to homeschool. And so basically that means having a desk, sitting your child down at a desk, doing math between 10 and 11 o'clock, and then doing English between 11 and 11:45, and having this schedule, and then lunch, and then recess, and literally like replicating what the public school does at home. You know, having a chalkboard and standing up in front of our kids and teaching a lesson and all of those things. Let it go. Let it go. Let all of those thoughts fall from your head and understand that homeschool is not schooling at home. Homeschooling is finding what works for your child. It provides an opportunity for you to figure out, how does your child learn? What is your child's learning style? What are their interests? How do you teach? What kind of leader are you? How do you guys mesh together as student and teacher, or as parent and child? How does that relationship look? How does your child receive direction? How can you give direction? That's what it's all about. It's all about finding out what works for you, for your child, for your family. And so for your child, they may be that kid that loves structure and like having this laid out schedule and like having you stand up in front of them and teach a lesson. And if that's what they like, then great, do that. However, you may find that your child prefers to learn through reading and prefers that you read to them, and they are like a sponge and they just soak up all the information that is being read to them. You may find that your child is a visual learner, so watching YouTube videos or watching Discovery Channel or Animal Planet or movies or whatever is the way that they learn. And so your school might be video schooling. You might teach 90% of the things through videos. You may learn that your child is a musical learner, so playing different types of songs and singing and dancing, they tend to retain the information that way, and that is what your school looks like. You may learn that being out in nature and never ever sitting down at a desk is the best way that your child learns, and that is what your school looks like. So in other words, homeschooling looks different for every single person. Every single person. It is not schooling at home. It is basically learning what works for your child and then doing that. Finding out what your child want to learn and then teaching that or providing the resources for them to learn that. So tip number 2, and I know I spent a lot of time on this tip, but in my opinion it is the most important tip, is to remember that homeschool is not school at home. Tip number 3, do not feel like you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on books. Y'all, I am a recovering book addict. Hi, my name is Danielle, and I'm a recovering curriculum/book addict. That was me. I was that parent that was buying every single curriculum, every single book out there, and I gotta have it, and would go to all these fairs and curriculum fairs and homeschool fairs, and I would be that person like, oh, I need that curriculum, oh, I need that curriculum. And while that was great because I found tons of different types of curriculum and found some things that have worked for a lot of my kids and has been a great investment, what I also learned is that I didn't really have to do that, that there was other ways for my kids to learn and I'd not feel like I had to spend so much money. Because I think a lot of people think I can't afford to homeschool because I have to buy all of these things. And so when my husband lost his job and we were trying to figure out what we were gonna do, and during that season of our life it became, because I was a addict, you guys, a curriculum and book addict, and I was like freaking out because I'm thinking, how am I gonna spend $1,000 on all my books for my kids? And so I was worried. And then what that did was that opened up this world of resources, free resources, that I was like, wow, there's all of this stuff out here. I don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, does that mean it took more time? Absolutely. Because gathering those resources, putting the things together, it does take more time than just having this, here you go, ready-made curriculum. However, it also opened up more creative ways for my children to learn. So going to the library, Teachers Pay Teachers is a great resource, a great website. Some of the things are free, some of the things may cost $5 or $2. Easy Peasy, which I plan to do a review on very, very soon because I love Easy Peasy. And I can't believe, you guys, I've been homeschooling for, I said 13, but really it's been 15 years because of those 2 years with my son. So 15 years. I cannot believe I literally just found Easy Peasy. So I'm going to do a full review over that. But Easy Peasy is a full curriculum, every subject, and it is free. Free. So YouTube has tons and tons and tons of educational videos out there, and it's free. So finding all of these different ways is definitely an option. So do not feel like you have to spend thousands of dollars on books and all of these expensive fancy curriculums. That is tip number 3. Tip number 4, no pressure on your children. That is tip number 4. So when I said erase the idea of schooling, this goes hand in hand with that. So what I mean by that is, don't feel like your child has to learn this at this age. And so I'm going to use reading for an example, because that is huge for a lot of people. I was terrified to teach my kids how to read. Like most people, I was terrified. And I got lucky with my first daughter. She picked it up very easily. There wasn't a lot of struggle. And so we just rolled with it. My 2 next children that I homeschooled, one of them, she kind of sort of picked it up pretty quickly, had a few struggles, but nothing too difficult. My son, on the other hand, struggled. So they both kind of took a lot longer for them to pick up reading. And so what that did is that opened up a door for me to try millions and millions of different curriculums to try to help them read. However, my daughter then picked it up once we found the right curriculum for her, she picked it up. My son continued to struggle. And I was freaking out, because I want to say by second grade, he still was not reading. And I was like, literally, y'all, freaking out, because I'm thinking, he has to read. And everybody's asking, can he read? Because we'll get to the homeschool haters in a minute. But I was like freaking out. We later got him tested, I want to say 3rd grade. He still wasn't reading, and so we had him tested, and it turns out he had some developmental delays. And so it was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. And I will not get any of my other children tested again, because I don't feel like I need a label for me to say it's okay that my child is not at this level. And I hope that makes sense. So, but having that label for me at that particular time in my life allowed me to relax. It allowed me to say, okay, he's not ready yet. And so by the time he was 10, I want to say 10, kind of toggling 11, he just picked up reading. I had let it go, you guys. I was no longer like pressing him. I would buy him like Bob books and go to the library and let him pick out little books, and he would sit and he would, look at them, and he would read like whatever word he could read. I would tell him to read his little siblings' bedtime stories, and he would go in there and he would read whatever he could read. Sometimes he would just read the pictures, so make up what he thought it was talking about. And I am not kidding, you guys. I'm not kidding. I definitely know 11, it just clicked, and he just started reading without me sitting down at a table and being like, sound it out. A says ah. Now, of course, I had laid that foundation early on, but there was no more pressure on him. And now he reads. He's 13, and he pretty much can read whatever. So I like went all the way on a tangent. But tip number 4 basically is to not put that pressure on your children or yourself to feel like your child has to be at this level at this age, because that's not what homeschooling is. Homeschooling is about going at their pace, at their level, and allowing them to get it. So your child should be a straight A student. Not kidding. Your child should be a straight A student, because if they're not getting it, then you need to stay there until they get it. That is the beauty of homeschooling. And I'll use one more example. My same son, he's doing math, and he's finally doing teaching textbooks. And it was so funny, because we were sitting there, and I was just sitting with him through the first couple of lessons to make sure he understood how to do it. And he kept playing, and if you don't know what teaching textbooks is, I've done a review over it. It's an older video, but go check it out. But he kept playing the lesson over and over and over. Like, you could replay it. And then he would get a hint, then he would replay it, get a hint, replay it. And I will not forget this moment. But he sat there with the problem and he was like, oh, I get it. And I'm like, and I mean, the excitement and the joy in his face was like priceless, y'all. It was priceless. Like, he was like, it was like literally like something in his brain just crossed and he got it. And again, that allowed me as his mom, his teacher, to be like, they'll get it. Like, however long it takes them to hear it or do it or go over it, eventually they will get it. And so there is no need for me to hammer or pressure, because when they're ready, when their brains are mature enough, when it's time, they will get it. That is my tip number 4. A very long tip. Tip number 5, the final tip, is to get your speech ready. For the homeschool haters. Y'all, just go ahead and prep yourself, sit down, write yourself a speech, write yourself some talking points, get it all together. And I know this is like a unconventional tip, but I feel like it's so important, because when you're new to homeschooling and you're bamboozled, or not bamboozled, you're bombarded with people saying things like, what about socializing? What about reading? Are you equipped to homeschool? Did you used to teach? Do you have a teacher certificate? Well, how do you do it? Well, how do you do all of that? When do you guys do this? Or what about math? And all of those questions. Sometimes when you're new, you're just not prepared and you don't have an answer. Or when people turn to your kids and they start quizzing them in the grocery store and you're like, what is happening? It can sometimes throw you off. It can make you feel guilty. It can make you second guess your decision. It can make you question yourself. It can make your kids feel uncomfortable. It's so many things that it can do. So if you are already prepared and prepped for it, then you're like guns blazing when they show up. So my tip number 5 would seriously be to have your talking points for those people that are going to come along in your life. You know one of the questions is going to be, what about socializing? And your answer for socializing, I think that's where I was, it may be something as simple as none of your business. And that's good enough. But if you feel the need to have some kind of explanation or to educate people, because I think a lot of times those questions just come from lack of education, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. So if you want to be that person that, y'all, I feel like am I like leaned over? If I am, y'all, I'm sorry. But if you want to educate them, then have your answer already prepared, so you're not thrown for a loop or, sitting there trying to gather your thoughts. So you just have your answer already prepared. For me, it's like, you think that they get to socialize in public school? Because if you do, you might want to go sit in at your child's school and understand what socializing looks like in the public school. I think a lot of people have a misconception of socialization within the public schools. So whatever the case may be, just kind of prepare yourself. Rather you have your speech, that might be dramatic, but what I'm saying here with tip number 5 is to just prep yourself to know you're going to have homeschool haters. Like, you're just going to. My little brother, who has been on my vlogs, I love you, little brother. He is a homeschool hater, y'all. All the way homeschool hater. And it's funny because he's a homeschool hater, but then when he comes, he's like stepping in as substitute teacher and teaching the kids all of these things. So he's like a homeschool lover undercover, but a hater on the surface, because, you know, that's what society tells him he should be. Society tells him he should be. So he's provided me with the opportunity to practice my speech for the haters all the time. But seriously, you will have family members, you will have friends, you will have strangers, whatever, approach you about your decision to homeschool. So seriously, just prepare yourself for that, so that you're not feeling like when that does happen to you. So those are my 5 tips for preparing yourself for homeschooling. I hope you guys enjoyed these tips, these unconventional, non-traditional tips, and I hope that they will help you as you begin this journey of homeschooling, as you dive off the cliff into the unknown. And if you guys have any questions about homeschooling, feel free to contact me whatever way is convenient for you, and I will do my very best to answer and respond. If you guys like these 5 tips and would like some more tips on homeschooling, give me a thumbs up, and I will share some more tips with you guys in regards to homeschooling. So yeah, that's it, you guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye.